Special shout out to Brady Watt, who that's one of his original tracks that let us use it for this podcast, where we are here today with an incredible human. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm Neal Ludevig, and my co-host over here needs no introduction, but he should introduce himself.
Hello, listeners. Welcome to Leave Looking Up. I'm Amer Jandali. I am so happy to be speaking to you.
Well said. Well said. So today we have on our show someone that I recently connected with and is an incredibly inspiring human and quite honestly makes me feel pretty lazy every whenever we chat. We have Pierce Freelon. Pierce, give a hello.
Hello, my friend. Oh, sound effects. That's awesome.
We're going all in, Pierce.
That's official.
Yeah. So just giving a little context before we let Pierce give a little share on who he is and how did he get here. But I met Pierce through an incredible initiative, which I believe is one of the genesis of one of your Grammy nominations. If that's correct. But I met through Amelia Robinson, started an incredible initiative called Family Music Forward. We connected and just, over in this day and age of digital communication through a Zoom call, realized we had some mutual connections, spoke and, sent a message and said, hey, let's find some time. And after a call or two later, figured that there's actually quite a lot of values aligned and you're doing some incredible things. So I'm glad that happened so we can be here and talking today. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, you have, we definitely have some overlapping networks, but I also think at a deeper level, you put an energy out in the universe and you attract like-minded energy. And I found in you for sure, like so much synergy, just all the projects you're working on, the people that you kick it with. And I think it really does at a like some kind of physics level come down to vibrations.
Totally.
And I vibe with you. I like you.
Yes.
You're my people. So
yes.
Let's get it.
And today is the day that we're going to hear what are the incredible vibrations that you are putting out into the universe. So I think, we've talked a little bit. Our podcast as a whole is really about humanizing our heroes. It's understanding their worlds and who they are and making them a little bit more real to us. So I think I'm going to start with this question of how did you get here? And all of these, and all of the things that you do, and I'm going to let you sort of elaborate, but where you are today in the role that you play, how did you get here?
That's a great question. Wow. Well, I got to start with my ancestors. They were instrumental, no pun intended. When I look back, first of all, my grandmother's here to my left, Queen Mother Frances Pierce. My mom made a portrait of her that I'm going to show you. It says, "Bloom Where You're Planted" is the name of this piece. And you can see here, there's Queen Mother. It's kind of like a collage with these cutout pictures and birds. This woman was a hairdresser. She was a community organizer. She was just a church lady, Bible thumping, hardcore, Jesus apostle woman. And, really was invested and rooted in her community in Cambridge, Massachusetts. She poured some really important values into my mom that she passed on to me. And just when you were asking the question, I saw her in my peripheral vision, and she likes to be mentioned. She's one of those ancestors that's like, go on and tell them about your grandmama right quick. And she was she was just one of these, like many Black women in the Black freedom struggle who often go unnamed because, it's Black History Month. You hear the names every year about Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X and Marcus Garvey. And there's a lot of men. There's some women too, not enough that get the recognition that the men do. But there are scores of people like my grandmother who were doing work on a daily basis to uplift the Black community that you may not know the names of. And we have these people in our family, we have them in our community, we have them, at our schools. There are teachers, there are librarians, there are grandmas, aunties. And so I carry her spirit with me. And I am, she used to say, she used to look at me and my siblings, say, "You are the fruit of my womb in full bloom."
Oh my God.
You are the fruit of my womb in full bloom. And I think that's such an apt metaphor because, she did the work during Jim Crow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Coming up from Texarkana, Texas, grew up on a sharecropping farm just in the deep South, and found a way out of no way, found a way to build a business, doing hair and making Black women feel beautiful. Found a way, through her church community to have an impact on the civil rights issues that mattered to her. Found a way to, saturate her children in the arts. She was close homies with Maya Angelou, and made sure that my mom and her siblings were at every poetry reading, art show, exhibit, dance performance, after school program. They were saturated in that. And that was a part of her legacy.
Wow.
And what she left to her own children, her immediate fruit. And I'm the fruit of the fruit,
Fruity.
Because fruity tootie, number tootie, second generation.
Right.
And my mom is a jazz vocalist. She's a singer, and had the courage and wherewithal and audacity to step into that realm. And I'm a kid watching her and seeing, oh, this could be a career trajectory. This could be a path. And, we talked a little earlier, Neal, about vibration. And my dad was a similar vibration to my mom. He passed away in 2019, was an architect, and designed many buildings around this country, including the Smithsonian Museum of African American History and Culture. And, shortly before he died. And he was another one who was just singularly aligned with his purpose, was undeterred by, the fact that he was the only brother in the all-white office, and, just overcoming adversity and tapping into his excellence and resilience to pour himself unapologetically into his purpose. That was his steez. And while I'm talking about Granny Franny, I got to raise up his grandfather, my dad's dad's dad. That's my dad's 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 dad. His name was Alan Freelon Sr. He was a painter in the Harlem Renaissance. He was a politician. He ran for public office in 1949 to represent Pennsylvania in the state General Assembly. Was just about it. If you go look up his art, he was an impressionist painter, but he also did kind of paintings that were critiques on war and white supremacy. And, he passed that on to my dad. My grandma passed that on to my mom. Then they formed like Voltron. You know what I'm saying? They got 3 seeds out here, you know what I mean? And so what else I don't have some kind of elevated perspective
Mm.
because I'm like taller than
Right.
everybody else. Dude, I'm standing on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah.
That's
This is a
it.
whole family
Right.
force
Woo.
that's generation to generation.
It's wild.
Yeah. And I mean, this is, we'll talk more about it, but this is definitely family and, role models and, something that I know is super important to you. This idea of being a dad is
Mm.
so important, and having children, and you're straddling that and city council and being a producer and a music artist and I think an author as well. Like how
Somewhere. Where's my book?
yeah.
My book somewhere
How
around here.
yeah, like talk to us all about those different hats. How do they all integrate?
Yeah, well, I think that I do wear a lot of hats, but I think there's a nucleus there that kind of binds the other pieces. There's a star there in the middle of my solar system
Mm.
of things that I'm doing. And at the core of my being and my purpose as a creative person, first is Black liberation. That's number
Mm.
one. It's like a commitment to the Black freedom struggle and the resiliency of Black folks and families, children, elders. You know that's important. And then yeah, I think the arts are there for sure. Service, and kind of I say service because I think social justice doesn't quite encapsulate the
Mm.
fullness of what service is really about. And also, when I say creativity, um, or the arts, which my dad said art is the most powerful force in the universe.
Mm.
I think that when I say art, I'm not just talking about my music. I'm not just talking about my books. Like parenting is also an art form.
Mm.
Like
Mhm.
the same way that we do a cipher here in Durham before COVID, we did a cipher every Friday. And being in the cipher is a particular kind of vibe. This
Yeah.
improvising musician, you kind of go into a zone. I've felt that same feeling of like freestyling and you come up with bars that you didn't even know were in there and you're surprising yourself with your own performance. It's a little out of body. I've had that same experience as a parent,
Mhm.
trying to get my kids to do things,
They make you improvise.
disciplining or loving them. They make you improvise, right? It's like parenting is creative,
Mm.
husbanding is creative work. I'm in a band with my wife, and she's a dope. She's dope. We got a shed to, stay sharp. Sometimes that's date night. Sometimes that can look like different things. Sometimes that's getting in an argument or a fight and then coming back and apologizing like that. It requires chops that
Mm.
need to be honed and developed and require the same things that need to show up for you in a creative environment if you want to be successful. So yeah, man, that I think service, creativity, Black liberation, that's in my books. It's in my parenting. It's in how I strive to be a spouse
Mm.
and how I strive to show up in community in various ways. Um, yeah, that's probably it.
This is cool. I'm really happy. I'm really loving the stream of consciousness here, Pierce. And it's like, it's cool. First of all, really great to meet you because, Neal and I have spent a lot of time talking about you and then looking through some articles, things that you've posted, all this sort of thing. So I've heard pieces of what I'm hearing now already. And it's great to just hear this through line through all of these points that you're making. And what I'm hearing as someone also who wears multiple hats, I was a nightclub DJ. I'm recently an adjunct professor, um, a founder of a startup company as well. And it's like when I'm on stage mixing music or in front of a class giving a lecture, it all kind of feels like the same thing.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
different expressions, different
Mhm.
mediums. So I'm hearing this from you right now, this theme where it's like, I know my core light that I'm expressing, it has this little
Yes.
shade over here. It has this little shade
Right.
over here. I'm just, yeah,
Right.
this is what I'm hearing from you right now. Just
Yeah, no, and just to reflect back, as you were talking, I was just thinking, my daughter, like minutes before this call, comes into my office. She's like, "Dad, come over here. I cooked something. I want you to try it." And she had taken some leftover. We had a takeout last night, and my son smashed his plate, then ate half of mom's plate, which was salmon. And so
Yes.
she mixed the leftover salmon with rice, all right, wrapped it up in rice paper, threw on some little sesame seeds, some teriyaki in there, and then she threw it in
And
the air fryer.
yes.
Come on, in the air
What a champ.
fryer. So she comes in here, Dad, you gotta try this. I'm looking at the clock. I'm like, I got an interview in 10 minutes. Okay. Ran in there. She goes like this. She puts her arms out. She says, "Right this way,
Oh
sir."
my goodness gracious. Excuse me.
Right,
Oh, I love
right.
it.
Ooh, ooh wee wee. So yeah, sat down. Listen, it
It
was
was the
delicious.
bomb.
It was so good. It was so good. And not only was that creative of her, to come up with the recipe and to see what was in the fridge and then just to remix what
Mm.
was there. How often do you experience that as a DJ where you're like, all right, well, this is what I got today. So and then you go down a rabbit hole and you surprise yourself with what you find in the fridge, in the digital fridge of your hard drive, right? And and it's you escort the audience to taste this delicious salmon and rice wrap of a mix. And like it was a great parenting moment. I honestly, I haven't reflected about this because I literally looked at the clock and said, "Oh, now I got to get onto the call." So this is my
Reflect
first time
on.
actually thinking,
Yeah.
yeah, reflecting back on it. But it's the same thing, that creative spark and the joy that you find in being of service to others. Like, it's one thing, she could have made those rice wraps and just smashed them herself. Like, that would have been dope for her to
For
experience
her.
on her own. Yeah, right. But to share the experience, and to spread joy to others, there is joy and abundance that comes from service, from looking at my expression. And you see how expressive I am. I was like, Stella, I was hyping her up like she just won an award. She did win an award. She won the air fryer award. It was so good. So, like, but I think that the thing that is important, back to the purpose of your show, is I think that kind of spark, that bliss of a parenting moment or a daughtering moment, of her presenting something to me, that is such a visceral expression of love that is available to us all. Some of us are blessed to be able to experience that throughout the day, several times a night when you're really crushing on the DJ set, or when you're working on your play or your animation or writing the song or playing with a band that you really love. um, it's a privilege to be able to tap into that chi on a multiple time, on a frequent basis. um, and so yeah, I just think that that is something that seems inaccessible to people, but is actually in everyone's fridge, in
Oh,
everyone's
bless.
house. You know what I mean? And we just need to find ways to tap into it as often as possible and to share it. Because when you share it, the vibration raises for everyone, creator included.
I'd like to follow this up. Where there's this theme that's again with another through line here. This theme about aligning to your purpose and sharing that which is in all of our fridges, no matter how we choose to slice and dice and serve it. Right.
Right.
I'm also hearing from you this beautifully integrated honor of your history and your past. And so I'm wondering if what my question is, what are the conditions that one can create for themselves for that expression, for that,
Mm.
for that? and then how your family might tie into that, because that you just opened up sharing about your beautiful family and your stories, and it was just like flowing from you, which segued beautifully into acts of service and Black liberation. And it's like, so my question is, what are the conditions that you create for yourself that one can create for themselves?
Yeah, I think the primary condition is love. That's
Mm,
number one. And that is accessible, is more accessible for some than it is for others, depending on, your childhood and how you grow up and what you've been through and whatever. But my wife and I talk about this all the time when we think about mistakes that we've made as parents. I don't believe in mistakes. I think
mm.
every decision I've made that has resulted in an undesired outcome is a learning experience that has taught me how to do better.
Mm,
Um, but you know, when my wife and I, when we talk about the kids, especially, and reflect on decisions that we've made, I tell her often, there's no, if you lead with love, there's really no error. It's not possible for you to
mm,
have an error. All you have is like opportunities to grow. And I think that that is where, you have your kids stepping into moments like the ones we had this evening, because the love is present. And so here's a great example with my mom. Self-love is really important. If you're going to be divvying love out to others, your children, your
mm.
spouse, you need to love
Hell yeah.
yourself first, and you need to love yourself unconditionally. And an interesting kind of backstory in my mom's journey is when she was a kid, when she was a teenager, she wanted to pursue a career in music and was discouraged by her loved ones, including a queen mother who just wanted the best for her daughter and wanted her to get a job that had some security attached to it. We're all creatives. We all got relatives who are like, really, what you doing? Like, how's that 401k doing with those risky life choices out there, making music or whatever. And so, out of love and a desire to protect their child, coming from a sharecropper background, not wanting your kid to live in poverty and to build a foundation from which they can have some financial security, she was
Mm,
discouraged at a young age from pursuing a career
mm.
in music. They just didn't have the networks, they didn't know how it was done. I believe she was offered a record deal at like 14, 15,
Wow.
which was also a young age to say like, well, I'm not going to go to college, I'm going to do this deal. So for understandable reasons and coming from a place of love, she was discouraged from pursuing her music.
Mm.
So, that there's nothing you can do about that as a kid. You don't have the kind of agency to chart your own path. Fast forward, she went to college, she got her undergraduate from Simmons and did exactly what her parents expected her to do, which was pursue a respectable career in healthcare. She was going to be a nurse. Met my dad, boom, boom, three kids, boom, boom.
Boom,
All
boom.
right. Now we're in 1984. I'm born. I'm the youngest of three. Mom has a crucial choice on her hands. It's time to get back to work and be a contributing, member financially to the family. Am I going to go back to UNC Hospital and finish my nursing degree? Or am I going to step into the purpose denied at 16, into the space of abundance and resilience that I've been dreaming about? All the gigs she had done up to that point, other than singing in church, is singing lullabies to her
Mm.
babies,
Mm,
right? And she has a crucial choice on her hands about how she wants to live moving forward now that she has the agency, now that she has the ability to make decisions for herself. And she chose in that moment, rather than bringing a guaranteed income of whatever 30, $40,000 a year a nurse made back in the 80s, probably 28,000, $18,000 a year with inflation, I don't know. But certainly a stable income relative to, I
yeah,
mean,
jazz.
right, jazz and the type of gigs for a person that don't have
Right, a career,
a
a
decade of
established career.
experience. Right. I'm playing at the mall. I'm playing at the airport. I'm playing at the lobby of the hotel during the holidays, barely making gas money. Like, it's a humble place to begin at 30 with
Wow.
3 kids. You know what I mean? So, but, you know, going back to what we talked about with self love, you have to love yourself enough
Mm.
to grant yourself permission to step into the space that you know is going to be fulfilling for you. Not necessarily the best for my family because it's not bringing in the same
Yeah.
amount of money or whatever. But guess what? She was more happy and more able to parent with abundance coming home from a gig where she really thought she crushed it and building a career where she's, you know, gradual steps but making forward progression that is um helping hone her instrument and grow as a person and as an artist, you know, that helps you be a better wife and a better mother. And of course, you know, she got signed 10 years later and was nominated for a Grammy and, you know, has traveled the world and has had the career that she dreamed of. But you know, she only had that opportunity to step into abundance because she was being basically
Mm.
selfish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who would look at her and say, "Oh, you're being selfish." No, she's loving herself,
Yeah.
and she's putting her, you know, her desires and her career. Luckily, she had a partner who was on board. Like,
Yeah.
let's do it, babe. You
Yeah.
know, because he also loved who she was and who she could have been and became. So anyway, I think that, and that's just leading by example.
Mm.
So I have plenty of examples from Queen Mother Frances Pierce to my own parents to other elders. And so now my job is pretty simple. Just don't mess it up. Keep doing the thing. Do the thing.
Yeah.
Keep keep stepping into your abundance. Keep being aligned with your purpose. Keep showing the children through your actions how you love yourself,
Mm.
through the way that you show up in the world and in your community and in your relationships and in your family. And they will take note of that and uh, and run with that baton. It's
Mm.
a lesson without ever needing to sit down and say, well, XYZ. And I can't explain it to them if they have questions, but the best explanation is my own behavior.
Mm.
Um, and they can model and emulate that behavior as they step into their own versions of, you know, self-love.
It's it's listening to that, especially like about your mother. So much of that experience, I think, was informed by that original decision to respect her own mother, right? To do maybe what's needed, but not what's wanted, right? And there's a
Right.
little bit of a heartbreak there, a defining moment that kind of makes coming into herself at 30 that much more meaningful, that much more of that mindset of abundance. And I think my you know, from my own experience, I think that somewhere in our origin stories and our genesis, we all have those kinds of heartbreak moments that help define us. And I'm curious, what was yours? What is your heartbreak that was also a breakthrough? Yeah, demystify that a bit.
Yeah, that's a great question. I've had many heartbreak moments.
Great.
But you know, and I've had to learn. So when I say something as gully as like I don't believe in mistakes and everything is a learning experience, like that's not just I wasn't born that way. Like even with the tutelage that I got from the mentors and loved ones who raised me, it really is something that I learned through failure after failure after failure, and getting up and seeing, wow, you know, that really seemed like a L in the moment, but now that's a whole W.
Mm,
Ooh-wee.
hell yeah.
Like,
Oh
how'd
yeah.
Hell
that
yeah.
happen?
W is just
So
two
like
U's next to, you know,
it's just listen,
just
it's
Yo, I
literally
reframe
got
it.
to
two
It's two
L's.
L's just kind of crunched.
It's two L's. So like one example of that would be running for mayor and
Mm,
losing that election. When I was running for mayor in 2017, I put everything into that campaign. It was the uphill battle of uphill battles. and it was really tough. I was devastated. I was like depressed for like a week after we lost in the primary, and it was really tough to kind of claw back from what felt like a devastating loss in that case. And particularly part of it was the time. It was like, Donald Trump was just elected president, and there was like this dire need for young, radical Black voices in the political space. There was this generational divide in our local politics, and I felt myself bridging a gap and showing up with some policies and some ideas that were really necessary and out of the box that a lot of my elders were like, "That's impossible." And then guess what? 4 years later, it literally happened. But anyway, like it was really heartbreaking and hard. And then also it felt like all these people, thousands of people
Mm.
voted for me, supported me, got on my campaign. I'm like, I let all of you
Oh,
down.
yeah,
You it's
sure.
Oprah. I let you
Damn.
down, you down, you down. Hey, you in the back. You gave me $2,500. I let you down. Like it was just like, whoo, this is tough. Now, but here's what those types of experiences and wisdom over time will teach you. I was, quite frankly, I was not ready to do the work that that came for our mayor. So the guy who won, his name was Steve Schul, had one of the hardest mayoral terms in the history of our city with COVID and everything that was going on. And he handled it with so much poise and made decisions that really reflected his experience. He was on city council for a long time, and that experience really helped inform some important life-saving, crucial decisions that he made for the city of Durham. And the interesting thing about the way that I ran my campaign, I ran with such integrity and such poise and such professionalism that pretty much every one of my opponents was like, yo, like Pierce is dope. Like he didn't win, but like, yo, he's next. And
Hell yeah.
so when an opportunity came when an opening came up on the city council, my former opponent, the guy I was locking horns with in debates, a couple years prior, was my biggest
Mm.
champion. He was like, "Oh yeah, that Pierce, we got to get Pierce in that seat. Like he's that dude." And it just worked. It made sense for what was going on in my life at the time. If I was mayor, there would be no children's music album and book and all these other things that I poured my life and energy into. My energy would have been channeled in a different direction, which I'm sure would have had its own fruits. But there is no doubt in my mind that everything happened exactly as it was supposed to, and I'm exactly where I need to be with no regrets whatsoever. And in fact, my previous angst and insecurity around failure has been flipped to gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And that was just the biggest learning experience. I could have really, all I lost was like a week, because I was really upset for that week. But now moving forward, when losses occur, I'm much more resilient. It's not that I don't feel bad when I don't get things that I really strive for or think I deserve, but the bounce back is much quicker because I know that it's not a loss, it's just a step. It's just a step in the right direction. Yeah, I'm thinking of another one, but maybe we could move to another question. It's a similar story, but I was thinking about the Grammys last year and how everything went down in the children's music
Yeah,
category,
I
and
remember
then the
that.
redemption this year. It's just like you can't make this stuff up, man. It's wild how anger and resentment and like why me can actually be like, oh no, it was supposed to happen this way so that you could have a bigger platform for the next time.
Yeah.
So, it's just interesting.
Well, so
Yeah, I'm a big believer of that. I'm sorry, that phrase, like the universe unfolds as it should.
yeah, yeah.
You know, wholly and utterly, wholly and utterly. Sorry, Amir, what was you saying?
No, man, talk it out. Go ahead.
No, I mean I mean hearing that story, and especially especially that you were saying that your opponent was your biggest
Mhm.
champion. You know, that's I think that's a testament to your character, to running campaigns with integrity and styles and those vibrations, right? Like that anyone can kind of feel that vibration. I'm curious, you know, who are you looking to champion? Who are you looking to as your role model, as a guide, as yeah, like who do you look up to? Um, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all the people I mentioned, the ancestors that I mentioned, my kids, my daughter Stella, like I thought that was total like badassery
Yeah.
to use the she should join your group. How she just whipped that together and with some leftovers in the fridge. Like
Mm,
that was dope. There are certain historical figures that I look to as people who really like you did that. Like, ooh,
Mm.
you did that. And Harriet Tubman and Nina Simone and you know, there are just too many to name. Polly Murray, Andre Leon Talley, some Durham folks, um, and Andre, a recent ancestor. Um, it's just there's no shortage and even I think my daughter is important to mention because it's not all people who are associated or tethered to institutions of power
yeah.
and and broad recognition. Like there are grannies in my community, like my grandmother, who um, are just rock solid,
Mm,
highly intelligent, fierce, beautiful powerhouses that I met, that I've known just from coming up in
yeah.
the community, but also that I've met through my service on Durham City Council, women who would show up at meetings, stage 2 cancer, just like demanding things for their community on other people's behalf. And I'm just like, woo, like you could be home right now, probably should be wrapped in a blanket, like watching Golden Girls on Hulu, but you here at a city council meeting, like
Mm.
showing up for your people, like,
Mm.
respect that strength and resilience. Those role models are literally everywhere. So yeah, you don't have to squint hard to look, especially when you're looking at black women.
Yeah, actually, there was a name while you were talking about some of the people that have, especially women, black women that aren't or haven't been recognized. I don't know if you know Claudette Colvin. I just learned about
Hmm.
her and her role in the civil rights movement and just like being an unrecognized person for 60 years. You know, kind of in that movement like pre Rosa Parks, and
Yep.
just how many people are in that space, but um just I mean it's as you're talking about all the people that are around you and like I think there's a specific listener and myself included that I'm thinking of so many yourself and your family and the people kind of in your immediate sphere. You have so much direction, like it just the idea of what you want to do and how you want to do and where to go seems very clear. And I think there's a lot of people that have maybe an intention like I want to be like in this
Mm.
space, but I don't know where to start. I don't know who to talk to first or how to talk to them. And that's like what would you say like is the first tool or resource that you're kind of thinking of that, for the wary, wavering person that's like, I want to do something, I just don't know how to start. And I think there, yes, there is that element of hey, love yourself, just go for it, dive in the deep end. But what about that person that's always learned by like they start in the shallow end and they walked a little slower, slower and
Yeah.
slower into the deep end. Like, what is that tool? What is that resource that could be
Yeah,
used to them?
that's a great question. There's two clear tools that I have that come to mind to answer that question. One is butterflies. Okay. So when I was in college, I did a residency, an after school program for some high schoolers at my old high school, doing like this hip hop and spoken word curriculum that I developed. And it was a bit of like trying to get off campus with the independent project, getting credit for doing stuff in the community. It was a bit of recognizing a need. It was a bit of following my nose, not really knowing what to expect. Um, but what I realized, oh goodness, this is a really interesting story actually. So to get into the details a little more, so so the curriculum is called Black Academics. You're basically teaching Black history through hip hop, and so I went to my old English teacher, and he basically gave me his class for a whole week, and do whatever. It's Black History Month, and do whatever. And so the day we came in on a Monday, on the Sunday before we arrived, one of the students at the school, and this is my alma mater, passed away suddenly. And he passed away. It was completely like freak accident, just had a heart issue that nobody
Mm.
knew about. He was an athlete, basketball player. They were hooping Sunday, just passed out and died on the basketball court. This was a beloved kid. He was a varsity hooper. And when we came in to do the residency, this is the first thing the principal told us at like 7 o'clock in the morning, that this kid passed. This is before internet, before
Mm.
social media. So nobody knew except the kids who were there hooping with them that day. Nobody knew. And I was like, yo, maybe this isn't the right time to come in and do like, hey, I'm Pierce Freelon. I'm an alumnus of this school. Let's do some hip
Bad
hop
timing.
and Black
Right.
history. Like awkward, like give the kids space to grieve. Like nobody's trying to. And they were like, actually, you know what? This is the perfect time for you to come through, because it'll give them a
Mm.
distraction and something out of the ordinary to kind of pour into. So we go into the classroom, first period, morning announcements. They break the news. I'm getting emotional just retelling it. It was so sad to see all the kids hearing for the first time over the loudspeakers
Mm.
what happened to their friend. Everybody's crying. I'm crying. Teacher's crying, losing it. Moment of silence. Then the teacher introduces me. Hey, this is Pierce Freelon. I'm like, yo, look, I understand if y'all don't want to get into this. They were all for it. Let's get into it. We're listening to Nas, KRS-One, Lauryn Hill,
Wow.
breaking down the lyrics. And then I have them
Damn.
writing their own bars. And these kids are pouring everything onto these pages. We come in the next day, they got poems, more tears, more grieving, more moments of silence, more counseling, more writing, more writing, more writing. From that Monday to that Friday, and I don't know if y'all can feel the shivers down your
Mm.
spine like I am retelling the story, but by the time we hit Friday, we have now convinced the principal of the school to let us do a school-wide assembly on Friday to present these
Oh
kids
man.
poetry. Every single grade, 6 through
Mm.
12, packed into the assembly. We open, first of all, with like a eulogy for the homie whose funeral is like that Sunday. This is like the school eulogy for the homie who passed. They had a white t-shirt band. They said the white tees, because this was back in my white tee. He was one of those kids who wore white tees. So we had practiced with the band. Everybody's in big ass baggy franchise boys white tees,
Oh
and they're
my
playing
god.
oh man, we played this was like Black Album era. So I
Wow.
remember, allow me to reintroduce myself. My name was with the jazz band, and
Wow.
just crowd is going nuts. Did a
Mm.
concert, nuts. And then the highlight of the evening, kids coming up on stage, reading the poems that they read about this kid, not a dry eye in the house. And literally, as I'm telling you, I'm like reliving the feeling of, I don't even know how to describe it, joy, affirmation, positive energy, like purpose, um, you know, power, all of those feelings and more that I don't have words to accurately describe were coursing through my body throughout this entire experience. And which leads me to butterflies. I didn't know what I was getting into. Of course, I couldn't have predicted the circumstance that I walked into, but I stayed the course as it related to what my intention was while improvising as needed to meet the needs of the moment. And I left out of there saying, like, woo, now that's something that was important. A life-changing event has occurred. I just witnessed something profound and participated in something that was healing, that was powerful, that was cathartic, that was important. And so now I have a responsibility. My brother MK says, when you make an observation, you have an obligation. So the observation was, there's something really important and powerful here. I have a feeling, listen, I've worked at the Durham Bulls Athletic Park. It's a baseball team, like parking cars. I worked at the Department of Solid Waste. I worked at the drugstore. I've collected checks. Some jobs were better than others. You try different things. But this was a different feeling. I got a butterfly in my stomach that it was the only thing that I could think of that is similar to is like meeting someone that you really like and you're falling in love with a person. I had that feeling with my wife. I've had it with others. That feeling of butterflies in your stomach as soon as you leave the date or whatever, and you're just like, I'm feeling you. Like that's how I felt about the work. And you never know. Listen, before you find the one or the several, somebody that you really dig and really click with, you got to date. And you got to look at the person you thought was a dime and say, but your personality's trash. It wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. You know what I mean? You got to try stuff out. And so, but over the course of you trying things, eventually you're going to strike a chord with someone that puts a butterfly in your stomach and makes you fall in love. And when you feel that love in your, I don't know, I don't know all the chakras, but whatever's in your stomach or your solar plexus or whatever, somebody with some tarot cards might do a better job than me telling you where it's at. Okay, right? So when you feel it, you have a responsibility to say like, well, what's going on here? You can't have an experience like that and then go back to like bussing tables or whatever is kind of like cool, but not like really the purpose. I feel like, and so that's what the advice to the listener who's looking for what's my path, that my mom had a similar experience. She enjoyed nursing. It was healing and it's in one way. And then she enjoyed singing, which was healing in another way. She said, I want to be a healer. But she didn't know necessarily at the time whether that healing was going to be through nursing, which she enjoyed, or through music, which she was deeply, deeply passionate about also. But it's different. It's the difference between like the person that you date but you don't want to get engaged to and the person that you're head over heels in love with, let's elope tonight. Like there's a difference, And so that latter, the former is great. I think we all go through experiences and jobs and work that occupy that former space. If you're a musician, maybe it's the band that you go to, that you play with to get checks, but then there's this other one that's it. Like this band is it. When I'm playing with these players, the chemistry, the vibe is different. And so we have to be, first of all, like aware, because if you don't check in after your transformative, experience, then you could just move on through life without recognizing that you're walking away from something that deserves further inquiry at minimum. So there's a responsibility to be aware of how you feel, to be empathetic or checking in with yourself, and then once you make an observation and say like, wow, I'm smitten with this, then I have an obligation. The obligation is to seize the opportunity to see what this is about. And just like, listen, I think relationships are a great metaphor because sometimes you feel the spark and then you jump in the rabbit hole and a month later you're like, ooh, maybe I got in ahead of my britches. I'm not saying like have a midlife crisis because, you enjoy playing a gig one night. It deserves further inquiry. And as you sit with it and over time, you'll see if this is something you can dig your heels into or if it's something that that you want to step away from. But the first step is the awareness of the butterflies and the responsibility to pursue them, and to see what's on the other end of that.
Mm.
Um, Somehow that 30-minute story was one of two, and I'm just gonna hold on to two because I feel like I talk too much, but that at least is some good advice.
If this is all we recorded today, if that's the only thing we captured today, I would be. If that's the only thing we captured this whole season, I think that would be.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Y'all ask good questions. That's the problem.
Yo,
If this were a regular ass interview, it's going, I'd be like, well, follow your heart. Like, it's the nature of who you are that's drawing this type of story out of me. So I appreciate the exchange of vibration here.
Yeah. No, and thank you for sharing. I mean, it just seems that part of this is awareness, is an awareness, and then the next step is trying, is just seeing what may. There's actually Amer recommended, I just watched as a new master class with Bill Clinton. It says like their family mantra is to always be caught trying. Always be caught trying. And I thought that's just kind of a testament that like it doesn't have to be a dive in the deep end. It could be just a little bit. It could be wading in the water. It could be taking a little bit of a step forward, but that's connected with like, step one, get awareness, see how you feel from top to bottom in your stomach and your solar plexus and all the chakras. And then step two is maybe put your toe in, go a little bit further, but that's I listened to that, and you were down for it. Right. You were ready and willing to make it happen. And I'm curious, that was a powerful, informing, transformative experience that obviously you just can't just go back, and it worked out well. I'm curious, like, how do you get those challenges? How do you get through those challenges that maybe didn't work out? Like, what's the nurturing that happens there?
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking about things that, listen.
You mentioned some of them, but
I think that like accepting,
yeah,
is really important. Because where my mind went when you talk about things that didn't work out, like there are partnerships I can think of, collaborations, projects, bands, with beloved friends, people that you care about deeply, but maybe weren't a good match for you as a business partner. Like how many of us have had that? Another good dating metaphor as well, not just with the band, but
this is actually a dating podcast. So this is
a dating podcast. Listen, I believe that everything is a marriage. Every band I'm in, I'm like, we're married now. Like if I'm in a business partnership with you, it's a marriage. It requires the same things from the individuals. So, but two things about marriage. Sometimes they end in divorce. And sometimes they just fizzle out because where you are isn't aligned anymore. And I can think of a few collaborations that I was reluctant to let go of, even though I know the relationship was over. And I'm talking about business, relationships, and partnerships and creativity and entrepreneurship. And here's the thing: it's generous for you to let go. Like there's this idea in our head that, letting go is gonna end something. And yeah, sometimes things need to end. It's like an apple that doesn't want to fall off the tree. You know what I mean? Like it's remaining here will only harm will only suck vital nutrients and prevent other new fruit from forming. It's a selfish act. In fact, when Nas has a new album, well, not a new album, not his newest album, but 2 albums ago, King's Disease 2, which has a song with Lauryn Hill on it. She talks about this. She has a line where she makes reference to this. I'm going to massacre the line, so I'm not going to try to repeat it, but I can explain the spirit of what I took from what she said, which is that if you have a blessing in your hand that's meant for someone else, then you're digging a ditch for yourself. You think
Yeah.
you're holding on to something, but you're actually digging a ditch for them and yourself. She said, I think the ditch you dig for them, you may need to lay in, or something like that. And that's true, I think, with holding on to things that need to be let go so that new growth can occur. You're canceling your blessing and theirs by holding on to the thing. So I think that's what I mean by acceptance. It's like, and it, you know what, Amer, it goes back to the same principle that we were just talking about around awareness. I'm calling you out because you know the chakra points. But it's the same awareness that you tap in, you know, after an exciting performance and you want to dive deeper. There's a same general area. For me, it's in my core, it's in my gut, where you can feel if something has run its course. If you're really honest with yourself, if you really sit with where you are in relation to that person or that project or that that collaboration or that vibration, you'll know if you're truly honest, when it's time to step away. And you gotta be, I still struggle with this, but you gotta be obedient to your intuition. And if you're not, you're only causing harm to yourself and those that you're clinging to.
That's so beautiful. That's awesome, Pierce. I'm also hearing the theme of surrender here. That's a strong one.
Now you sound like my grandma.
That's what your grandma says too?
Yeah, well, surrender and obedience are
Right.
kind of like they're right there. But yeah.
Right.
Yep. Being obedient to your intuition, surrendering to the process, to what's unfolding, and then listening, that recognition, that dipping your toe into where those butterflies are coming from. And then I think another thing I'm hearing is allowing yourself to experiment your way through it and try something. And if it's not landing in a certain way, accepting that it's time to let it go, let it move on. It might be a blessing for somebody else. Just like your beautiful story about not winning the election, it was a breakthrough in another capacity. And you had that symbolic side to see that. That's really, really beautiful. I'm loving everything I'm hearing right now. Neal, I don't know where your head's at. If you have any other questions right now, I'm curious about now, given what we've heard, given where your internal compass is pointing, given where your roots are buried, given where your nutrients are flowing in the direction that you're heading, what's on your radar right now? Like where's your attention going? What are you, what seeds are you nurturing? I mean, Neal mentioned you have many hats: author, Afrofuturist, father. What projects are you on? Where's your attention going these days?
Yes, all of those things. I think for me, I look for, this is what my manager Monica calls connectivity, but I see it visually as kind of concentric bubbles in a Venn diagram. So when you say father, for example, that's a big ass bubble. Overwhelmingly overlapping in that bubble is author, because let me just grab it while I'm looking at it. I was looking for it earlier because usually it's on my bookshelf, but this is my book, Daddy Daughter Day, which is coming out this Father's Day. And my daughter, it's inspired by a song I wrote with my daughter. So like artist while parenting, it's a book that's really rooted in the spiritual tenets of Afrofuturism, which is one of the hats. And as I'm doing kind of book tours and readings, whenever Stella will let me drag her with me, I'm going to. And whenever I have an opportunity to live the book out in real life and, cancel something so I can help her do handstands or test out that air fryer, then I'm going to do that. And it's not mutually exclusive with any of the other kind of bubbles and hats that I occupy and wear. And as much as possible, I want those bubbles to bleed into one another. Because if the more separate they are, the more directions I need to run. If I bring it home to the hearth and I live in the center, then I'm constantly at maximum efficiency,
Very true.
in all the spaces that I want to be. And listen, I even as I think back about Stella and the air fryer, there's a potential.
There's your next children's
There's
book.
give.
That's exactly right.
Well,
Stella and the air
interesting.
fryer, once upon a time.
Stella and the air fryer. But it's interesting, like, I've been working today on a bunch of pitches, and, the kids got home around 5, and, I was working on those pitches right up until Stella got me to taste her salmon wrap. So, I drop the kids off at school every morning, but excluding that 10 minutes before this interview, I haven't really kicked it with them today. So I need to think about that as it relates to the concentric circles of my bubble, and, and think about, well, okay, we didn't get quality time that day. When are we going to be able to put the laptop down and the interviews and things down, and to step wholeheartedly into parenting? Now, that's something I have to be intentional about. It's, work-life balance stuff. But, I would also, what's also true about that is it is in those intimate moments when my laptop is closed and my notepad is down that a lot of the ideas for songs and podcast episodes and book themes spring into my psyche. And thank goodness I have my phone, because sometimes all I can do is take out my voice memo, leave it in my phone, put it back down, and continue to parent. But I think for me, it's really about blurring those lines as much as possible while prioritizing, husband and family first, and then, everybody else get in line. And if I ever find myself in a space where I'm veering too far into one direction at the expense of any of the other spaces that I cherish, then I need to reorient. And this includes what we talked about earlier with letting go. One of the things that I've realized, as far as what do they call it in basketball when they sit players when they're not injured?
Bench 'em?
No, it's not benching. It's like a newer term that load management. That's what they call it. Load management. It's basically, you're not going to play today because we want to save you for the playoffs. But anyway, if I'm ever in a situation where, where I'm not managing my load appropriately, it's important to be aware of that and to let go of things so that I can hold the other things with a more steady hand, rather than just be wobbly because I'm trying to do everything at once. And I think for me, like a good barometer, a good limit to what I'm capable of is like 3 things. That's it. It's 3 things. And like parenting and husbanding was like one of those 3. And so for me, if I'm writing pitches for television and I'm doing a podcast, I can't work on books too, because all 4 of them will suffer because I'm trying to carry too much. So, but here also, Amer, is where the Lauryn Hill line comes in. Because if I have a book offer that's really exciting and juicy and pays really well, and I'm excited about it, but I know I've got my hands full of being a father and writing a television show and doing a podcast, it would be harmful to me and the book to take the book deal. And it would be blessing to me and the homie to say to the publisher or whatever, I'm not available, but holler at my man right here. He's about it. He's a writer. He's dope. Like, and whatever the medium is, it could be don't take the gig or whatever. Like, you honor the publisher, you honor the homie, you honor yourself, you honor your family, you honor the podcast, you honor the television show. by putting down the
Yeah.
extra thing that is beyond your capacity, even if it's just on the edge of beyond your capacity, and handing it off to someone so it can be a blessing for them, and so that you can refocus and pour your energy back into the other thing and make it the best that it can possibly be. That is like surrender, you know, intuition, obedience, you know,
It
all
feels
those
lighter.
things. El
Even just
boogie.
hearing you say that,
Yeah.
it just feels lighter. Just in those two quick scenarios that you A-B'd really quick, right? Either this, take it, or either that, pass on the blessing. It just feels lighter. Like you just, it's I gotta acknowledge that 'cause that's really helpful to hold on to.
Mm.
And here's the other reason why it's lighter. Okay, not only is it lighter, ligh, you know, like light, like less heavy. It's also lighter,
Igniting.
like
Yeah.
Oh
igniting.
yeah.
Because
Starting
think
step.
about
It's the
think about
genesis
the
of things. You're leaving
right,
opportunity, right? To make things happen.
Neal. You know this. Like as a musician, like think about that coveted gig, you
Mm.
know, that you may not have the time capacity or space for. Let's say, you know, I know at least in North Carolina, we're in the Bible Belt. Like an important part of any full-time musician's bread at one point in their career is playing at a church somewhere. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And if you go off the church, if you go off on tour, or your career is picking up and you can leave that space because you have the privilege and capacity to do so, you know, handing that gig off to a young, hungry person on your team or in your circle or a mentee, it puts them in a position to thrive and be financially stable, and to, you know, for the church to get some new energy in there. He coming in hungry. You were in
Yeah.
there, dink, and they in there. Like that's lit for the church.
Yeah.
You know, you're putting your man on. Now, you know, who knows? They may go end up being the house
Yeah.
band for Kirk Franklin, and they end up putting you on, you know, in a couple years. That's how it's not just light as in
yeah.
not heavy. It's
Yeah.
light as in you're turning up your whole circle. Everybody's winning
Yeah.
because the cup overfloweth. You can only hold so much in your cup. And if you just let it overflow in your hand, you get splashed on. Like, pour a little bit of that out. Let me
Yeah.
get some of that. Yo, come here, take some of that. Like, come get some. Maybe a little splash, but you know, get some of that. Neal, come get some of this. Like,
Yeah.
we can all be hydrated. And and when we're all in a place, you know, where we don't need a sip, then that just makes for a more abundant community of creatives to be around. Everybody's winning, and then it's fractal. It's like as it's in the smallest unit, it kind of scales out. It's just exponential. That's how, you know, change and building and scenes happen because of stuff like that. So yeah, that's
The symbolism of a flowing overfilled cup is beautiful. This is making me, I mean, along the same vein, I heard Christian McBride. He gave this fantastic, he was being there was a speech that I heard him basically talk about, like that decision, that honoring of himself, that self-love that you were talking about when he made the decision from stopping to be a sideman to shifting and having his own group, having his own thing. And I'm not sure if it was like Inside Straight or something else, but like when he said, I'm going to be a band leader, and he turned down two major gigs, I think with like Chick Corea and McCoy Tyner, exactly in the vein that you're talking about, that he gave, he had it lined up, he had the money things, and he said, you know what, like I need to focus on myself. I need, you know, I could take this, but he talks about how this is like the genesis, the time, the strategic management that he worked with a manager and like really invested in himself in a new way, and it meant turning something else away, but seeing it as like, he's like, yeah, like I gave it to somebody else, they did great, and I did great, and it is exactly that, and it's the thing that it's actually leading me a little bit to that next question, which is one of like the final ones, is those opportunities that you give often come back to you, and it's ways that people that you wouldn't even have expected are saying thanks to you. Thank you for that opportunity. Thank you for that placement that I never would have thought, because sharing is caring, right? Who you've thanked a lot of people and recognized a lot of people today. Who do you need to give thanks to that you haven't given thanks to yet, whether here today or in general, that is coming up that maybe was unexpected or that deserves it?
Yeah, I mean, there are too many people to thank. Like I
Just
said at
one.
the beginning,
I'm joking.
I have a vaulted perspective
Mm.
because I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. Now, as if that wasn't dope enough, I also have like active homies. First of all, spirits, ancestors, angels
Mm.
helping me. Angels, helping me out, lifting me up, and then just our people here on this earth. Neal, you're one of them, like who puts me onto opportunities, who connects me to folks in different projects. My manager, Monica, Matthew Cherry, who is a mentor and creative collaborator. My kids, my students, lift me up. They keep me fresh. They keep me plugged into a lot of different things. My homies, I got a buddy, Jighetto, who's an incredibly dope puppeteer, who's always kind of lifting me up and putting me onto things. And, I connected him with, my buddy, Terrence Nance, who's a filmmaker in New York. And they're doing some dope stuff. Like, I just, it's all good. Like if you move with integrity and you and you surround yourself with good kind of like-minded, energetic folks and vibrations, I think that your collective ascent is inevitable. And so there's a ton of people that I consider mentors. There's a ton of people that I consider mentees, and then peers, and then ancestors that I think are all part of everything that I've seen, as that could be interpreted as success. Even that, I mean, like I said, even this very conversation, and thanking everyone involved on the call is a part of that, because y'all got me like on some stuff. I'm like, dang, maybe I should make this into a TED Talk. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna be running the tape back with my manager. Like, what part of this could we tease out into a story that could be dope? But that is that's a testament to the vibe that you're bringing and what you're pulling out of me, which is not common. Like, you've heard my interviews; they're not all like this.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I think there's a lot of gratitude to go around for sure.
Nice. Well, Amer, unless you have anything else to add, I can think of two final things, which is our rapid fire round, and a little context about one of the tracks that you sent us, because it's dope. Amer, you want to? So the rapid fire round, it's just a fun little thing. Your favorite and your least favorite of each. Okay. Amer, we can just go back.
Yeah, let's alternate.
Forth.
Yeah, that's fine. You start.
We're gonna alternate.
You start.
Right? So Pierce, you got 5 seconds for each one of these. All right. So favorite and least favorite.
Oh, maybe
we lost you for a second. That was terrible timing.
Hold on, I think he's back.
All right. I think we're back. Check. You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Perfect.
You're
Perfect.
Back.
All right. So we're gonna jump into the rapid fire round. We're gonna switch off Amer and I in terms of asking you questions. You just tell us your favorite and your least favorite of each one of these, unless we give you an option.
Okay.
Ready?
Got
cool.
it.
Amer, take it away.
Okay. Favorite curse word.
Shit.
Least favorite.
Oh, least favorite curse word? Jeez.
We'll bleep it out, don't worry.
Yeah.
God, least favorite curse word? I love all the curse words.
Okay.
Probably like douchebag or something. That seems super like
all right.
fratty.
Favorite food?
Favorite food? At the moment, it is air fried salmon
roll.
and rice wraps. Least favorite food? Dang, I'll have to stick it to cauliflower.
Dang, cauliflower.
I'm with you.
Dang, cauliflower.
Favorite book?
Ooh, I've just finished reading Three Body Problem, which is this amazing book from a dope a science fiction book from a Chinese author.
Mm.
Least favorite book. Wow,
It's not on
that's a
there.
hard one. Yeah, I can't think of Huckleberry Finn, I guess.
That's actually a good question.
Okay.
I don't know what my
Pretty
least favorite
bad.
book is.
Yeah,
That's
that's
hard-
a
that's like-
tough question.
We didn't say this was easy. All right, favorite movie.
Ooh, The Matrix.
Good one.
Least favorite movie. Wow, it's so much easier to remember favorites than least favorites.
Yeah, I guess you
What
blocked.
was the movie that was like, oh my god, that was trash? Oh god, you know what I just watched but I liked the first half of it. Give me a minute.
We can come
I'm
back
gonna
to
think.
it.
Okay, yeah, let's come back to that. That's a tough one.
All right.
It's probably a superhero movie in which I was supremely disappointed, like Daredevil. But
Mm.
I can't think of. Let's just say
Daredevil.
Daredevil
There it
for
is.
now. That was pretty bad. Sorry, Ben Affleck.
Song.
Ooh, favorite song. Wow. Well, I mentioned Nina Simone earlier, so let me go with For Women.
Mm.
And a least favorite song. Wow. I don't know. Old McDonald.
Okay.
It's annoying.
That's a really good answer. Actually.
Foreign word.
Favorite foreign word. Uh Clip. Which is a French thin pancake.
Clip.
Clip.
Crepe. Yeah, crepe.
I can't quite say it, but I love to eat it.
Yeah, it is
And
delicious.
clip.
You don't have to say least
Um,
favorite, but least favorite foreign word. That's
Least favorite foreign word would probably
Justin's
be.
just like, nah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll pass on that one.
yeah.
That's
We
a
can.
tough
We'll
one.
just do
Favorite,
favorites.
yeah. Fruit.
Favorites.
Favorite fruit, pomegranate.
Ooh, that's a good one. Okay, options: iPhone or Android.
iPhone.
Mountains or beach.
Mountains.
GIF or GIF.
Ooh, GIF.
East or West Coast.
East Coast, baby.
Nice. Pancakes or waffles.
Or clip.
I'm a waffle guy unless it's the clip.
Chocolate, vanilla.
Ooh, strawberry.
My man.
What? I'll take it.
Take it.
Accepted. And finally, Kindle or book.
Oh, book. Yeah, hard copy. Gotta
Yeah,
get the
hard
hard copy.
Cool. Awesome. Pierce, you're amazing. Thank you for sharing so much wisdom. There it is. Round of applause.
Yay, we did it.
We're gonna tune out with a track. You sent a few tracks over. You can give context for one of them. Which would it be? And we'll take it off for those. Take it off with that guy.
Music. Music is a universal language. Music touches
my
us
mom.
from the inside.
Do you want me to give you context
Each
now?
of us is a
Yeah.
unique human
But like over the music?
I wrote
We'll wait.
this
We'll wait a
song
second.
all
We'll wait for it
exactly
to
because
finish.
I found that each person has a specialness inside that's different from anyone else. No one exactly like me.
So what was that about?
Oh wow. So I found a tape, a VHS tape from 1980 something, 80 something, 8, 7, I can't remember the year now. Of my mom as a teaching artist in rural eastern North Carolina. And this was a song that was the actual recording of that song. And she was, singing No One Exactly Like You. I heard it and I called her. I said, Mom, this is beautiful. Like, she's like, what's that again? Where did you find that? She had no memory of having recorded it at all. It's been 30 plus years, but it was really early in her career. And it's a timeless, beautiful song. I added some vocals and instruments and kind of tried to breathe life into it for 2021, which is when Black to the Future came out. And it was the album opener. this kind of intergenerational sample
Yeah.
from when I was a really little kid and my mom was really young in her career. And it was really special for me to, dig into the crates, so to speak, of my
VHS
family
tape.
archives.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, dig through the tapes and then sample my mom in that way. And I just thought it came out so beautifully that
Hmm.
I made it the first track on my album, Black to the Future.
Cool. Well, we'll end with another track from Black to the Future, but Black to the Future is the Grammy nominated album that is up for consideration. And yeah, man, it was incredible. I've been listening to it. So thank you so much for joining us today, Pierce. I'm looking forward to the TED Talk that emerges from this.
Seriously.
And yeah, we'll catch you later.
Wait, I had this. Hold on one second. I had this impulse to, like, as we were talking earlier, I just put something in the chat. Now that we have this, we just like, this is our first episode.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
This is our first episode. So
Yeah.
we really have a wonderful opportunity here to just start something. I mean, we have started something with you. So, and like the fidelity at which you have played this primary tune, Pierce, is so wonderful. And it's, I'm so amped now, like the energy that I feel about this project. We've been working on this for a couple of months, prepping all the admin sort of thing. And now this tune that you've started for us, this is going to play far longer and farther than any of us can even suspect. So just thank you very much. And I can't wait to re-listen to this. And as you were talking about all these sort of different things, I just had this impulse to, like, I want to capture you just saying something here, like what I put, like something like, I'm Pierce Freelon and always remember to leave looking up, or whatever sounds natural to you, whatever feels right for you. Like, and thank you for, and you're invited to leave looking up, like, send the listeners, send us off into something like.
Got it. And so the key phrase there that you want is looking up, just in my own
Leave
voice.
looking up.
Is that
Yeah.
Leave
looking up. So leave is
Yeah.
in there too. Okay.
Well, yeah, whatever sounds.
I was trying to think of a pun. Leaf.
Ooh.
No. Okay. So like a radio drop.
Yeah.
Is that it? Like, like,
Yeah.
hey, this is Pierce. This is Wynn Marsalis. You're listening to Smooth Jazz on 90.7. Like
Yes,
that kind of leaves
exactly.
looking up.
Like
Oh
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay, I got you. Hello, this is Pierce Freelon, and you are invited to leave looking up.
Teach you how to rise like your ancestors.
Yes.
To look back to find the answers. Yeah. You are African inside like LeVar. Look at how we've thrived, ask LeVar. On a quest for love in a bad spot. Roots kept us grounded in black thought. Now Kunta Kinte's free like LeVar. He was crowned King Kunta by Kendrick Lamar. He had a descendant named Uhura. Space is the place where she grew up. She could really listen. Her nephew had amazing grace and wisdom.